This is the Eufy X10 Pro Omni, which is Eufy's newest robot vacuum. But unlike other flagship robot vacuums out there on the market, this one is about 2/3 the price. So this is pretty much like a good flagship alternative, but what is it missing? Today, I'm going to tell you everything that you're going to want to know about this before you decide to buy it or not. And one thing that you're definitely going to want to know because it does it better than any other robot vacuum out there on the market. Let's jump into the video. I do want to thank Eufy for sending this out to me so I could check it out for you guys. And the first thing I want to talk about is that this thing is just like any other flagship out there. It has 8,000 pastels of powerful suction. It has the mopping, which they call it Mop Master, with 180 revolutions per minute, and it has down pressure. So when I did the mopping test, no problems there. It did a great job at mopping. It did also have the edge hugging. So as it did the edge first of the room, it would actually kind of do this little twist to make sure that the mop got to the edge. Now, it's not one of these new ones where the actual mop comes out a little bit. So downside to that, it still gets the edge. It's just a little bit slower. So it's going to take a little bit longer than one of the newer ones that cost twice as much. Obviously, there's custom settings where you can have the mopping head a little bit more damp, or even go back to the base station a little bit more often to get those mopping heads clean. I also noticed when it came up to a rug, it did all the edges of a rug first, just like when it enters a room, it does all the edges of the room. But when it came up to a rug in the middle of the room, it detected that it was a rug and it did the entire exterior of the rug all the way. And then it started to vacuum the interior of the rug, which I thought was very, very cool. And I think it did a great job vacuuming and mopping. I keep the setting on where it can do both at the exact same time, and it's really smart because it has a 12mm mop lift. So when it does detect carpet, it's going to raise those mopping heads. That way your carpet's not going to get wet, which I think that's the highest I've seen thus far. But you can also have custom settings per room if you want to. You can set this up where you can have it mop one room, maybe mop one room twice and vacuum another room, or have both twice. You know, there's so many different settings that you can have per room. It's really a great app. And talking about the app, setting this up was super easy. They have something called the iPath mapping, so map out your house for you. And you can have multiple maps, so if you want to move the vacuum to a different level now and then, you can definitely switch maps really easy. I think on my main level, it might have taken it like 5 minutes to map out. Really easy and simple. If you have pets with long hair, they have this Pro Detangle comb that's in the back of the roller. And I guess when it goes back to the base station, it runs in reverse and cuts up the hair or breaks up the hair. I have 2 small dogs that have short hair, so I really couldn't test this out. I did put some of my wife's hair down on the ground. It did an okay job, but I did notice some hair build up towards the edge of the roller. And when it comes to the Omni Station, I was really impressed about the size. Some of the other units I have are massive. This is probably about 2/3 the size, and I really like how the water tanks are actually part of the base station, so it makes the body of the base station rather than you have to opening a lid and pulling out the containers. The containers themselves is the Omni Station. On the left hand side is the 3-liter clean water tank. I got about 3 to 4 days before I had to refill it. Obviously that's going to depend on how often you use it and the size of your house. But in my particular situation, it was about 3 to 4 days. And right behind that is the dirty water tank. I had to clean that out about every 3 to 4 days also. And then on the right hand side is your compartment that has the 2.5-liter dustbin. I've had this vacuum for about 2.5 weeks now, and it's not even close to full. They say it can last up to 60 days, but that all depends on how dirty your house is and how often you run it. Now, just like other flagships out there, the robot vacuum will come back when it's done, empty the dust out of the robot vacuum and suck it into the dustbin. And then it'll start cleaning the mopping pads. And when that is done, it'll actually start drying the mopping pads, which is a must-have these days, because if you don't, they're going to start growing bacteria and start stinking, and nobody wants that in their house. Unfortunately, the tray down below, you might have to remove and clean yourself about once a month. It's going to be completely dry because of the air drying, but there might be some dust or dirt that might collect down there that doesn't get sucked up into with the water. So just take it out about once a month and give it a good cleaning. Now, when it comes to obstacle avoidance, I think the X10 Pro is in a league of its own, even better than other flagships that cost more than $1,000. With its LiDAR sensor on top, the 3D camera, and the 3TOF sensor, it really does avoid things that it should not be going near. I tested it with cables, toys, dog feces. Actually, the first time that I ever used it, my dog really did have a mess. And because this was my first time ever using it, I noticed that it kept missing this one spot and had a little pin there. And what was really cool is I clicked on the pin and it showed me a photo of the feces. So it was really nice that they can identify what it is. I noticed in my testing, it wasn't always correct. Obviously, if it's feces or a wire or shoes, it was 100%, but when it was other toys, it couldn't really identify what it was. But nevertheless, it always kept away from it. It didn't even get close to it or bump into it. It really did a great job at avoiding things that they shouldn't be going near. Now, with that being said, I did run into a situation where I created a mess, pretty big mess. It was all these goldfish. I crunched them up and put them down, but it was a big spot. I did notice when I did this, the AIC did pick it up as a obstacle and avoid the area. Even though it could have cleaned it, should have cleaned it, it did not. So it's a little overkill. If you have big messes and you tell it to go to a certain area to clean up that mess, it might see it as an obstacle. So just keep that in mind. You might have to turn off the AIC setting when you have a bigger mess. But I noticed also in my everyday cleaning, it didn't avoid areas at all. It was only when I had a specific mess or a bigger mess, that's when it avoided it. So I don't think you're going to have to turn off the AIC feature that often. And when it comes to smart home integration, it currently works with Alexa and Google, but it's just simple operations like clean the entire house, pause, and also return to base for a charge. And there's no support for Matter or Siri shortcuts. All in all, the Eufy X10 Pro is not a huge groundbreaking robot vacuum. It doesn't have all the little bells and whistles that the newest ones have that cost twice as much. This thing is so affordable. It is definitely a flagship out there for about 2/3 the price. And like I said, the obstacle avoidance is hands down the best I've tested to date. All right, guys, definitely check out those affiliate links down below. I don't do any types of sponsorships on this channel, so if you do purchase something through my links down below, that definitely helps me out. I appreciate you guys watching. Definitely let me know if you have any questions. I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.